how did Genesis and Journey change rock music in the early 80s with two hit songs that were identical in form and a most unusual song form at that? I've never heard anyone mention Genesis and Journey in the same breath, let alone make this kind of comparison. Genesis has Turn It On Again from the Duke album, which came out in March of 1980, and Journey's Don't Stop Believin', which came out on the Escape album in July of 1981. So the two songs share this incredible song format, which I have not seen before this. I could be wrong. Let me know if you can name a song that came out before these two songs that uses this song format. A musical figure, which is also used underneath the verses, not uncommon at all. But here's what's uncommon. Then there's a bridge that recurs. It happens 2 times in each song. Same exact music, same exact lyrics. Now, there hasn't been a chorus yet, but there's a bridge. And then after the bridge, there's a quick turnaround phrase that brings us back to the A section or the verses or the intros. Then the chorus of the song happens only at the end of the song. Both songs repeat and fade the chorus, but it's unusual that we don't hear it until the end. And in terms of both songs, our chorus is made up of the musical figure used in the introduction, the verses, but with a different melody on top. I do want to make a quick disclaimer. I am not performing this either song. I'm merely demonstrating on the keyboard, and I might sort of hum or speak along just to make things a little bit more clear. I'm not performing this. Don't judge the performance. Turn It On Again starts with this musical figure as an introduction. And then that same musical figure is used under the verse, or the verses. All I need is a TV show, right on the radio. Down on my luck again, down on my luck again. Now we go into what I like to call in this situation a bridge. It's a B section, it's a release, contrasting section, whatever you want to call it. Musically and lyrically, it repeats exactly, which is unusual for a bridge. Not unusual for a pre-chorus, but this isn't a pre-chorus. I can show you some of the people in my life. I can show you some of the people in my life. It's driving me mad. It's just another way to pass up the day. I get so lonely when she's not there. And now we have this turnaround phrase to take us back to the A section, verse, intro, whatever you want to label it. So this song will repeat everything we just did exactly, and then it'll go to the chorus, which is this. Same musical figure. Turn it on, turn it on, turn it on again. Turn it on, turn it on, turn it on again. And then it will repeat and it will fade, just like the Journey example. So let's look at the Journey example. Don't Stop Believin'. It starts out with this incredible, iconic introduction, musical figure. So that figure, that's the whole song. Everything comes out of it. Anything that's not this figure and isn't the bridge is just some minor variation. And so we have the first verse, just a small town girl, living in a lonely world, took the midnight train going anywhere. And then we sort of double up that first verse, the city boy thing. So what we have again is another introduction. know what I'm talking about. It's a little guitar riff. It's not a solo so much, but it's a little guitar riff. But it's an introduction. We still have that bass line, still have that chord progression. And then we have another verse. Singer in a smoky room, smell wine and cheap perfume, so on and so forth, right? But now we get into our bridge. Goes on and on. That's not part of the bridge, it's part of the verse. On and on and on and on. Strangers, here's our bridge. Waiting. And down the boulevard, their shadows searching in the night. Streetlights, people living just to find emotion, hiding somewhere. Here's our turnaround phrase. Night. Now in the Journey song, we have another intro. And then we go into our third verse. Working hard to get my fill. Everybody wants a thrill. You know how it goes, right? And then we have the on and on and on and on. And the bridge again, second bridge. Same as Turn It On Again. The same concept. Turnaround phrase. Journey again, another introduction. This time in the form of the guitar solo, which you would not want Don't Stop Believing without the guitar solo. Neal Schon does amazing guitar solos pretty much all the time. They're all awesome. But since this is their most popular song, most beloved song, it's probably the most beloved guitar solo. Oops. But it's still an introduction. So then we have Don't Stop Believing. Same chords, hold on to that feeling. Same bass line. We like people. Same thing, just a different melody on top. And the chorus only happens at the very end. Same as Turn It On Again. It's the same structure. It's the same unusual format. But I think it's highly unusual to only have a chorus at the end of the song and for it to be a hit song, which is the case of both of these. Another couple of crazy, unusual things is the Genesis song, our B section starts with this chord. I could show you, I could show you. So it's a D chord with a C in the bass. It's a very tense chord, right? It's an unstable chord. And in the Journey song, it's B over A. Strangers, but it resolves to the A. So it's sort of like a big suspension. It acts like an A chord in the key of E. It acts like a 4 chord. In the Genesis song, we're in a B-ish mode, although these chords are really out of the key. It's awesome. It doesn't matter. Who cares? And then I can show you, I can show you. It's almost more like a theater song than a pop song, but very popular, incredible. But I find it so unusual that they start the bridge with that chord. And in the case of Journey, something I think worth pointing out is that on Duke, even though it was Genesis' 10th album, and Phil had been the drummer for 10 years, the singer for 4 years, roughly, this was the first album he collaborated as a songwriter. This is the first time he's writing music in a major way for a Genesis album. He'd done a little bit here and there in past albums. He was really a new collaborator in that sense on this album. And then for Journey, they got Jonathan Cain to replace Greg Raleigh as a writer and as the keyboard player. There's another really awesome comparison, I think, the two albums. If you take Journey Escape, it's sort of a goodbye to the 70s. And when they did Frontiers a couple of years later, that was really the step into the 80s. The same is true for the Genesis album. I think that Duke was a say goodbye to the 70s. And Abacab, which came about a year later, that was really hello 80s. The albums have similarities, but there was a big difference. Finally, one last comparison to the two bands, the two albums, the two songs. The bands went from being very popular to being mega superstar bands, selling out the biggest arenas and stadiums. Turn It On Again wasn't quite as big a hit as Don't Stop Believin', and it certainly wasn't Genesis's biggest hit. But Turn It On Again started in the set list on that Duke tour and stayed on the set list until their very last tour, which just ended last year, which I was very happy to have gotten to see. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it was a point that you haven't heard someone make before, and maybe there's a little new information, and maybe you had a little bit of fun. If you like what you saw and what you heard, please subscribe. Check out some of the other videos. There's lots of videos of me playing the keyboards. And if you're into meditation, there's a lot of meditation videos. This isn't necessarily in my lane, but it was a video I've wanted to make for a long time. Thanks for joining me.